Big ideas in small bites. This is Bite Sized, brought to you by Accenture.
Welcome to Bite Sized. I'm your host, Bella Thornley, and today I'm delighted to welcome Sital Mistry-Lee, the Digital Inclusion Delivery Lead at Good Things Foundation, which is the UK's foremost charity dedicated to closing the digital divide. With Sital, Good Things Foundation has helped thousands gain digital skills, access online services, and unlock opportunities in education, work, and daily life. Sital brings insight on how technology can empower inclusion rather than deepen exclusion, and I am excited to hear her vision and stories from the front line of digital equality. Welcome, Sital. First of all, I want to begin with your vision for a digitally included future and the risk of being excluded.
Yeah, thank you for having me here today. So digital is part of all of our lives. It's part of our everyday. It helps us with earning an income. It helps us manage our health online. It helps us connect with family and friends. For you and I, technology is enabling us to be independent. It's enabling us to better our lives. 7.9 million people in the UK are excluded from that opportunity because they don't have the skills to use the internet in a safe way and use that confidently. The reality is that 3.7 million households in the UK are living below what we call the minimum digital living standard. And that is a benchmark for what you need in your house and what skills you need to be able to use the internet confidently and safely. So you can tell almost 10% of the population in the UK are digitally excluded, which means that we've got a really long way to go before we actually, create this society where everybody's online. At Good Things, we do that in a number of ways. So we help people to get connected, and we do that by providing them with a suitable device and mobile connectivity so that they can actually access the internet. We help people with skills, so building those basic digital skills that means that they know how to set up an email address, do online banking, connect with friends online. But most crucially, the key part of our model is the support that people get to help build their confidence. The way we do that is that we work with 7,000 organisations across the UK, and they can be anything from libraries to community centres, a whole range of organisations, but they're based in local communities, and they provide a trusted space for people to come, to learn, and to get the support to make mistakes and to know that that's not going to end in something that is drastically terrible.
That's amazing. You mentioned 10%. From my point of view, and I'm probably part of the problem, often when I think of digital exclusion, I probably look at a sort of generational or an age bias within that. Is that a misconception, and has that sort of hindered your progress towards the vision that you have?
There is some truth in that. Older people are disproportionately affected by digital exclusion. I think the biggest thing that hinders progress is that there's some people that believe that in 15 years' time, this won't be a problem. Digital exclusion won't exist. People will have the skills. We've got digital natives coming up. And the reality is that digital exclusion affects people in many different ways. And any person at any point in their life can become digitally excluded. And I'll give you some examples to help kind of illustrate that point. So somebody who financially is struggling, who doesn't have the right device and isn't able to afford the right device, or take a single mother as an example who is constantly budgeting and, her boiler breaks. And now she's having to make a choice between paying her broadband bill or fixing the boiler and having hot water in the house. That is the day-to-day reality of how digital exclusion presents, because, what are you going to choose in that situation? And if you're then therefore having to live without broadband, you are disconnected from the internet. So that's one example, but there are many other examples. An elderly person who has always got their repeat prescriptions on paper, and now, we're digitising those processes through the NHS app, and they don't have the skills to do that process online. They don't have the support. They maybe don't have family and friends that can help them to do that. Where do they turn to? So something that they were able to do independently themselves before, they're no longer able to do. It can be somebody who's younger, who, really great on TikTok, knows how to do their own content, but leaving school and don't know how to write a CV, and they don't know how to apply for a job.
Use of new technologies such as Gen AI, are you seeing the gap widening with the sort of digital exclusion then?
Yeah, it's a really great question. And there's definitely two sides of the coin here. So without urgent action on helping people understand AI, understand how it can be used, understand how it can benefit their lives, we will see the digital divide get bigger. And that is driven by fear. It's driven by people feeling disempowered. It's driven by people being distrustful of new technology and new tools. And what we know from the research we've done at Good Things is that for people who have low digital skills or low AI confidence, these are barriers to engage in AI tools. So there is a real danger that unless we help people feel more AI confident and increase people's AI awareness of how these tools actually work, that the digital divide will get bigger. And people who are digitally confident now will become reluctant to use AI if we don't tackle these fears and these misconceptions. But there is a positive story to tell as well. If we can do that, and if we do that in the right way, so again, from our research, what we've learned is that being able to ground AI learning in real life practical examples, there is a motivation there to see how AI is actually helpful. And what we've seen is that, there's so much AI training out there, but none of it is really grounded in what somebody needs to live their day-to-day life. And I've got some examples from things that we've seen from our own network where, you might not speak English as a first language. You've received a letter from your housing provider. You don't know how to read that letter. You don't know how to engage with it. And you don't have anybody around you that can support you to respond to that. But actually, if you have access to AI tools, you can use translation, and you can therefore translate that letter into any language in the world but the native language that you speak. It can also then, we can use large language models to help you respond to that letter, and respond in a way that means that you're able to address concerns. You're able to write that letter maybe in your own language and then translate it back to English. So there's a real positivity to AI, but unless there's more intention around ensuring that people have the foundational skills, not the slightly more advanced stuff, but really understanding how it works and how it can be helpful to them, then we are going to end up in a situation where that digital divide increases as a result of generative AI.
The scale of the problem, and obviously from what you've just said, the fact that it's growing, you can't do this alone as part of just Good Things Foundation. How are you working with partners, with businesses, I assume the government, to help tackle some of this problem?
Yeah. So this is a real cross-sector issue. Nobody can solve this problem on their own. We need businesses to step up, we need the government to step up, and we need civil society to also all play a part in how we help people use digital in a really positive way to help them lead more independent lives. So we have a number of partnerships, but one key one is with Accenture. And we've been working with Accenture for about 2 years now, and we've been really trying to understand what it means for digitally excluded people and people with low AI confidence. What are their barriers? What are the challenges that they are experiencing? So I mentioned some research that we did last year. We did that together with Accenture. And we were trying to really understand how people who, are not part of this AI world, how they really feel about AI. And what we learned was that there was a lot of fear, there was a lot of mistrust, but there was a lot of misunderstanding about what AI actually is. And I think that was very much fueled by the media and what we see online. So, there was the huge thing around deep fakes that came out, and that has actually fueled a lot of fear in people. The kind of rise of scams and how sophisticated they're getting through AI. So if you think about the average person, this is more of the narrative they're hearing around AI, not so much of the positive stuff, but more of the negative stuff. So we've been working with Accenture to build a tool, a learning resource that is aimed at creating the foundational AI skills. So aimed at helping bust those myths, aimed at helping build AI confidence, and really help people to understand what AI is and how it can be used in a really practical way. So we've developed something called the AI Gateway, which is a learning resource that's free to access. Anybody can access it, and it helps people to work through a series of quizzes and videos, making that learning really interactive and really engaging, but also grounded in very simple, practical ways that you can actually use AI in your day-to-day life. And then the other great thing we've been doing with Accenture is we've been able to tap into, all of your expertise and all of your knowledge, not just to help us as an organisation, but to help us pass that on to the third sector and the network that we work with. So we've been doing a lot of AI sessions for community leaders, helping to pass on that foundational knowledge to those leaders so that they can start to think about how they might utilise AI in their own businesses. In terms of other organisations, there are so many things that you can do. We have something called the National Device Bank. And the National Device Bank provides people who are digitally excluded with a device for free. And the way we do that is we take devices donated from corporate organisations that they no longer need, we refurbish them and we provide them to people who need them. So as I mentioned, not having access is a big barrier. And actually, if you're an organisation, the easiest thing you can do is donate your old technology for social good. So we've collaborated with them, with Vodafone, with Deloitte, to create something called the IT Reuse for Good Charter. And that's a charter which really encourages businesses and organisations to take their old technology and donate it. And, we have a programme where you can donate that old technology. It's called the National Device Bank. But there are other schemes out there as well.
Amazing. Lots to unpack there. So obviously you covered access using this sort of National Device Bank, a bit of the network. What I quite want to quickly go back to is that confidence, obviously being a really one. Are you doing training or looking into how to upskill people in that rise of sophisticated scams? Historically, you've always been told to look out for poor English spelling, for bad grammar, for dodgy URLs. Is that something that you're also including as part of your training?
One of the things that we've started to build more knowledge on over the last year is the interplay between digital literacy, media literacy, and AI literacy. And actually what we know now is that you need all three of those things in today's world to feel digitally confident. And when I talk about media literacy, I mean things like having critical thinking skills, so knowing what is a fake email, what is a phishing email, being able to interrogate news stories that you're seeing on social media to know whether it's come from a valid source or not. And, with the rise of fake content, fake news on social media, these skills are becoming even more critical. So we have done some work with Ofcom this year to develop a media literacy program, which is on our e-learning website. It's called Learn My Way. But yes, it's a really great question. All three of those are essential today to feel like you can use the internet confidently and safely. And as you know, those kind of scams, they're becoming even more sophisticated. So this isn't about learning once. This is about lifelong learning. Actually, that's really what we need to foster. We need to foster a culture of lifelong learning so that as technology advances, people are keeping up to date and keeping up to speed with how they can help themselves stay safe online.
Earlier you talked about your network and obviously the community leads. Who else is in that network? How are you sort of really accessing the daily lives of those that are digitally excluded?
So about a third of our network are libraries in the UK, and libraries are a really interesting place within communities, because where traditionally you would have thought of a library as just being, somewhere where you get books or somewhere where you can access a laptop or a computer, actually they're becoming real cultural hubs within communities where you might take your children to learn coding, or you might go to a yoga class there. They're becoming really central to the way people access support, the way we bring together communities. So libraries are a really key part of our network. We also have private organisations. So Virgin Money banks are data banks. So data banks are how we provide people with mobile connectivity. We have a number of data banks across the UK. Virgin Money banks provide that service alongside our community organisations, as well as Virgin Media O2 stores. So what we're seeing is, a real collection of organisations and different sectors coming together to tackle this problem. And one of the things I want to touch on is that digital inclusion is not a problem in isolation. Actually, a lot of the organisations we work with, digital inclusion will be one of many things that they do. So they might provide a food bank service, they might provide a youth group service, but digital inclusion is embedded in how they deliver that service and how they engage people. We talked about how digital as a tool can be a real enabler for people. It can help them lead more independent lives. And that's really what is unique to Good Things and how we work and our model, is that it's about the person, it's about the individual, it's about how technology can help them live a better life in a way that's personalised and unique to them. So what is fantastic about these organisations is that they take a real holistic approach to individuals. It's more about how technology can support that individual live a better life, rather than just going through, a 6-week training course where you might learn a number of skills that you're never going to use. It's very person-centred.
You've talked about the definition of digital exclusion and inclusion around that of the access, skills and confidence. And this is continuously evolving as we're seeing the emerging technologies. What do you think, is that definition going to change in the future? Are you concerned about what digital exclusion will look like?
Yeah. And unless we're intentional with our investment, with really caring about how technology advances and us bringing people along with us, the digital divide will increase. And it's why Good Things are really campaigning to make this a prominent issue for everybody.
So looking forward, in 5 years' time, what headline would you like to see, and what part would you like to have played in making that headline?
Yeah, I really love this question, and I've thought very hard about it. What the headline I really want to see is AI for all. So AI giants have invested in closing the digital divide. And the reason why that is my wish for 5 years' time is that if we do nothing, we will be in a worse off position. The people who are able to engage with technology, they will have used that to benefit their lives, to have more independence, to improve their prospects and improve their access to opportunity. But unless we bring everybody else along with us, we're going to see that polarisation in society. We're going to see people who have and people who haven't. And what I would love to see is those AI giants, those ones at the top of this revolution, I would love to see them making significant investments in bringing everybody in society along with us. And I would love Good Things to have played a huge part in that. And the role I think we can play is that we make sure that that investment goes to the right people and is distributed in the right way, so that we are absolutely bringing everybody along this technology revolution. That is the headline I would love to see.
Looking forward to seeing that headline. Hopefully it won't even take 5 years at this rate.
Yeah.
Sital, thank you so much for joining today and for explaining exactly what we need to do, both in society and as a business, to close that digital divide. This was Bite Sized, and I hope you enjoyed listening.